Three people got kidnapped. Why don't we just take a little while to focus ourselves, examine ourselves, and see if we really are who we think we are. Your being here is very important. I thank you for allowing me to share that with you. It's an experience. I have a little parcel of stories to tell. I really don't know where to start. Albert did me an honor. He got in touch with me to write a testimonial for the Clean Program's book. When do you expect it to come out?
In a few weeks.
Few weeks. Yeah. So Albert called me on the internet. Called yesterday, could I have it by tomorrow? For me, it's of course. I know for many people to write a paragraph is, well, in the spring when weather gets warmer or something, tomorrow. Said, Sue, would you like to write? Yeah. She was done with hers in about 2 hours, less. And we chatted about it. We both felt good. It is an honor. And Sue and I saw that somehow we know how to write by schedule, which is like a professional writing. Somebody who wants something, they want it tomorrow or today. And you pull out your pencil and you sit down and write, and that's it. So, Sue and I both had fun doing it. I had fun doing it. I had fun taking the cleanse. It was wonderful. I had a terrific time with the whole thing. Well, I thank this man. Can't wait to see it in print. And he even wants a picture of me. Do you want a picture of Sue too?
Yes.
That's the right answer.
It just so happens she has it in her pocketbook. Yeah. For me, seeing this program take wings is marvelous. What a pleasure. What a thank you, thank you, thank you. It's beautiful to see it. Beautiful to feel part of it. Like, it seems that the things that take place in work happen like other things, and also they have another dimension. There's a particular touch. When that radiator got hooked up, James, was the architect of that plan. Gabriel worked on that radiator. He moved it. Where's Gabriel these days? I don't know. Maybe Israel, maybe, who knows? A guy and a half, that was Gabriel. He was something else. And his two brothers, yeah. What a time. They were here a couple of years. Over in that corner, on the ceiling, worked that guy who's now an eye surgeon. Remember him?
Yes.
What was his name?
I was just thinking of him the other day.
Joel.
Confino.
You've seen him.
Joel Confino.
Joel Confino. Dr. Confino, the eye surgeon. He was just beginning his career at that time with his girlfriend. He was cutting into the tin ceiling here. A big project went up on that. He did it. Now this guy cuts into your eyeballs, and quite a trip. That's what happens in work. People do things, they say things, they go off on a trip, they do this and that. And because it's work, it stays immortal in a way. I forget where that radiator was, but it was in front up here.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
In the window.
Huffing and puffing, screwing, wrenches, we got it over here. It's a beautiful thing to watch people live. A long, long time ago, somebody defined love as allowing somebody to live before your eyes. It's difficult not to want them to be different. And of course, you do, you don't, you say, you don't say, but basically, somebody is living their life before your eyes. You can't change it, really. You might think, but you can't change. That person, that individual, has a life to live. And because they care for you, they live their life in front of you. And you can see it change, you can see it alter, you can see it move. You wish it were this, you wish it were that, and if you're working, you say, that's the crazy part talking. Crazy part is always talking. You allow them to live. And that's beautiful. So in a community like this, you've got brothers. Mark is somebody's brother here. Both Marx are brothers. What are they going to do with their lives? I don't know. They don't know. But we'll watch them live it. That's beautiful. Everybody stumbles. Everybody goes through 1,000 changes. And the family, the brothers, the sisters, they watch this. I have no idea what these people are going to be doing 25 years from now. Nobody. No idea. And that's beautiful. A couple of you people, if you have met Chon, I think you know Chon a while, you don't really know. Maybe nobody knows her. But she's been around forever and ever. Has never interrupted her meetings with me. I first met Chon through James. 1979 seemed like a good shot. She's part of that group that you've seen, the Asian woman. Stories that, wow. Out of nowhere, a zillion years ago, I said, Chon, I want you to start reading the I Ching on a daily basis. Of course. How can I do that? I don't understand it. Read it. Read a chapter a day. Until I tell you to stop. So, a person who is solid does what she says she'll do. So she started reading the I Ching every day, number 23, all the numbers in a row, read them again, kept going with this. Okay. More or less she had an idea of what was going on. She read it anyway. It was her task to read it, not to understand it. After a while, a year and a half or so, she wants to study calligraphy, the Chinese writing. So she finds the guy who's supposed to be the best at this, an old wise man with the beard, Chinese master. And she asked him, could he teach her calligraphy? So he says, only after you read the I Ching for a year. And she said, well, I've been doing that. Come on in. She did it. She went. She studied with the guy, did all this. At the time, she worked in a little leather factory around here making belts. That was her job. During the course of these things, she wound up working in Charivari on 72nd Street. And she was the manager at Charivari's. And in the employees at Charivari's were two women who were young, and they were best of friends. One of them is Rosie, whom many people have met. And the other was Rosemary. I just spoke to Rosemary about an hour ago. She's been in San Diego for 3-4 years, and we've kept working throughout. Then somehow Joan got the idea that she wanted to study acupuncture. So there's always a school of acupuncture, the Ajax School of Acupuncture in Hoboken or something. Diplomas in 6 months. She's, no. Do it the right way. She goes to Beijing and studies in Beijing for a number of years. Her husband, Leon, was the guy who took the movies of the groups. At that time, Leon had a trading company, stocks on Wall Street and things, and he was doing great. He was a partner. I think he was making about $50,000 a year. Astronomical figure in those days. And then something happened. Bam, ba-dum, 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 ba-dum. The company collapsed. Leon was out of work. He was already in his 40s, 45, in there. He got married to Joan. And he couldn't find a job because on Wall Street, apparently, if you've screwed up your company, we're not going to hire you to screw up our company. So he basically never worked again on Wall Street. And he basically never worked too much again anyway. He went into Tai Chi, and he took to it like a religion almost. To this day, he's third or fourth from taking over the school. He's wonderful at it. Which brings to mind a thought I haven't had in a while. The meetings would start, I think, at 8 o'clock or whenever they started, but an hour before, James would give a Tai Chi class. You remember, yes? And Leon started basically doing his first Tai Chis with James. Leon and Joan had a daughter, and I visited them, I think 1990 or something, and the child was there. And there was a rapport between the child and myself somehow. I didn't say anything, she wasn't talking age yet. But somehow this little girl has been a terrific daughter, a fantastic student. I think it's Tufts University, is it, in Boston? She just started there now. Joan has carried this entire family, because the kids started off going to private school on 81st Street, so Chon would take her in the morning and Leon would bring her back at night. Putting this kid through school was some effort. And Chon, with her acupuncture, has been the breadwinner for this whole family. She's kept herself 4 stars. So I spoke to her. I said, Chon, if we continue working, we won't see each other. But I really want you to come to Thursday night meetings. So she's going to start coming again. She had been to your house. You remember her. I think it's somebody that everybody here will open their heart to. She is solid. Terrific acupuncturist. Just took a very, very advanced course in tapping, which is part of Chinese medicine. I had been into it. I've got some materials. She went, I lent her the materials, she took the course. She feels she can facilitate the course on a much simpler plane than the person who was the teacher. Well, Chon was here throughout it all. It's just fantastic. I'm walking from 6th Avenue to here, and this man is walking in front of me, and he almost takes a fall. It's going to be something else. It's, wow, I said, I hope this guy doesn't kill himself. Thank you. I think it's things like this that at least I know I'll remember forever. I'll never walk that corner without seeing you almost lose your balance. And the feeling that I had inside was, gee, I hope this man doesn't hurt himself. And he said he had seen me and didn't recognize me. Did you say that just to hurt me, or? I'll have to wear a sign when I come to 28th Street here.
Or not wear that hat.
Or not wear that hat. Do you feel talkative?
Right now?
Yes.
No.
Do feeling have anything to do with anything?
Probably not.
Probably, you're not sure? You're not sure. Think it over. I'm glad you did. Okay, it doesn't. Last night, Yossi gave me a thrill. My heart thumped a little bit. Wow. I said, Eureka, he's got it. He's got it. And I still say it. He's got it. He really took a quadruple giant step when he spoke to me last night. Could you tell the story again? All of it. All of it with the facial expressions, with the whole thing. Let me see the movie again.
The facial expressions, like, I don't know, if they happen, they happen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let them happen.
I can't promise. What? It's the story of the party, right? It's
The
party.
whole thing with the painting and the whole thing. He
Oh.
called you called him, the whole story.
I didn't bring the notebook, or else I'd be reading out of the notebook too.
No, don't read it out of a notebook, read it out of your heart.
Well, I showed up. I sat down. Last month, Gil, I can say instructed me, advised me to start writing down things that pass through my mind, that occur to me. And so I pulled out a notebook and started writing things. I think it was only yesterday that when I came and actually pulled out the notebook and turned the pages and started reading that I realized, like, oh, a lot of stuff is going on. That it's only when I start making notes of it and it accumulates, I can look back at it and see, like, oh yeah, a lot of stuff is going on in the head and in life. And I started reading some things out, and the truth is, like, when I came towards the end of the reading, and we paused and spoke about different things. I'm not gonna like try to recall what I wrote, because then it's not. But towards the end, Gil asked about if anything happened with that man with the gallery that I was going to meet with. And I said, wait, not yet, because I didn't finish reading from the notebook. First I'll finish reading everything, and then we'll get there. And said, well, do it in whatever order you want. You can talk about it now, you can leave it to the end, whatever as you ever see fit. But then once it came up, I started talking about that gallery thing. And it's basically this gallery that I've been courting for, dare say, like 5 years now. I started when he was still in Chelsea, and it was a good dialogue. First time I stepped in, and he came to my house, and he saw my work, and he liked it, and it seemed like it was going somewhere, and then all of a sudden he disappeared. And he resurfaced in the Lower East Side like 2 years ago, at which point I started courting him once again. And what happened was that last week, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago actually, I got a phone call from him. Spoke to Gil last month already, and he said, like, when are we going to hook up already? And I said, what do you mean? He's like, when are we going to hook up? When are we going to get together? In my head, I was really hoping that it was about seeing my work and not hook up for doing something else, and I wasn't really sure what he was talking about. And I said, anytime you want. And he said, should we meet at your place or should we meet at the gallery? And I said, like, whatever works. And he said, we can meet at the gallery because my work is on Picasso, it's on the internet, we can see it anywhere. And he said, yes, I know, I saw it already. I said, like, good. And he said, yeah, I saw it and I liked it very much. It's got some very, like, what do you call it, spiritual stuff going on, which I find very interesting and I'd like to talk about it. And we made an appointment, and that was the day of Pamela's meeting here last month. It was a Thursday, and I came there, and he wasn't there, and I was waiting for him, and it took him about an hour, and I thought I'm wasting my time again, and that he's like flaking out again. And I said, look, this is what you want. You're going to sit here now in the cold outside, you're going to wait for him until he shows up. And he did. And we met. And he said whatever he needed to say. And in the back of my head, I remembered all the time that when who called who was he called me, and he was interested to meet with me because he saw the work and he liked it. That's why I'm there, and I should remember that when he's saying whatever he's saying. And the opportunity, when it came, I said, so when do I have a show? And again, he started talking blah, 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 and I said, look, it's not about me, it's about the work. I'm in service of this work, and I think this work needs to be shown. I think you know that, and I want to know like a time. And he said, well, 2010 and 2011 are full already. And I said, well, that's too far to wait. I need something sooner. And he said, well, there's a second floor. And I said, second floor is good. And he said, second floor, I keep it more open. And I said, great, when? And he said, I think a spring show would be good for you. And I said, a spring show sounds fantastic. When in spring? And he said, April? I said, April sounds good. He said, end of April? I said, end of April. It's fantastic. When should I call you to meet so we can like finalize, what pieces will go in? He said, call me again end of February. I said, like, okay, we'll meet the end of February. I'll come. You will come over. And I guess I closed the deal. I have a show at the end of February in the gallery that I recorded for whatever long time. And then I continued to tell Gail about like that. It was last Friday. I was invited to a birthday party. It was my yoga teacher's wife's 50th birthday, and it was held at now I forgot his name. Richard Avedon's old place. He sold it, and whatever. My teacher's wife's friend and her husband bought the place. It's up on 75th Street. It was a very nice party, and everybody was very fancy, and there were all kinds of like rich people there. And I guess what the story was, that what I was telling Gil is that throughout the evening, what I was doing there is walking around. It was very chatty. Like 4 or 5 glasses of champagne did it for me. And but I served. I think first of all, I went there because I needed to go there because it's my teacher's wife, and I was invited, so I have to show up. And so I did not go there because it's like my friends or anything like that. I guess, a career move. And then I further turned into a career move. I talked about 2 things throughout the evening. I talked about my photography, and I talked about the cleanse. All evening long, it was like all the time complimented about my looks, which I completely just told everyone about the cleanse and they have to do it. And it's not about doing it sometimes in the future, but doing it right now. And about my photography, and that I have a show coming up, and about the shows that I had, and I was basically working it, and it was and it felt really good. And as I was looking around, I realized that that's what everyone else was doing there. People were just pitching themselves. People like went out, they get dressed up, they look their best, and they talk about themselves. That's it. That's what they're doing there. They're talking about themselves. They're telling everyone, and I didn't see anyone telling anyone how bad they're doing. Everybody was telling everyone how wonderful they are, and how wonderful their lives are, and like what is they're doing, and talking about it. And I found myself for the first time in a room full of basically acquaintances, complete, in a way, strangers. They're not friends. Non-stop talking about me and my plans, and there was a carrot cake, and immediately I sold my carrot cake, saying my carrot cake was much better, and that I will send them a carrot cake next week. And it was basically selling Yossi to anyone who made the mistake to stop by. And it was fantastic. It was I felt like I was swimming, and in the water was familiar. Like I didn't feel strange. Like, let's say once I got into it, because when I walked into the room, the beginning, into the place, it was kind of overwhelming. The amount of people, and how people looked, and I guess I was really impressed with what did we say that author's name was again? Rushdie, yeah. Rushdie? Yeah.
Salman Rushdie.
Salman Rushdie was there, and like there were other people that I know from the studio, but very wealthy people, and there were like baskets on the wall, and they were like really like very, very fancy place. And it's like, so the first thing that comes to my mind, like, oh, I'm out of my league. And then very quickly I realized that, look, no, I'm not. I'm right where I should be, and I feel very comfortable here. I can have a conversation with anyone in the room about actually anything. And if it's not something I feel comfortable, the place where I was, I saw that I could completely take whatever it was and take it to where I do feel comfortable and talk about something that I want to talk about, not necessarily about what they're talking about. And I guess what my conclusion was, and that I understood with Gil yesterday, that it's a game. And because all the time I realized that I was playing a game, but I really enjoyed playing that game. And that I could live playing that game. That I want to live and play this game because I don't see any other option to get anything done unless this game is played. And another thing that I said was like that as I was there and I was like, wearing this pants and these shoes, and it's even about that, like when you see like the Academy Awards and saying, who are you wearing tonight? I actually found myself saying who I was wearing. Yeah, my coat is this, my pants are this, my shoes are this, my shirt is this. Certain people were actually impressed that, this is what I'm wearing. And I said, it's like the fact that like it was all hand-me-downs from a friend, it was no one's business, one. And two, as I told Gail, the fact that like from this glamorous event, I'm going home to my Lower East Side apartment, that like the walls are all cracked and the stairs are filthy, is really no one's business. It's like their business is like, whatever. I'm selling this like very well preserved 46-year-old man who dresses up good, who is like a very appreciated yoga teacher, an excellent vegan baker, and an up-and-coming photographer. And like it was like, ooh, I like this. That character. End.
What I heard from Yossi last night and now, in very direct terms, this man said, I went someplace to do business. Because according to Mr. Gill, life is a business. You're either going with it or you're going down, but life is a business. I heard him say, I want something. I really want something. I haven't heard too much of that from people. I heard him say almost verbatim, I'm not going to take no for an answer. You're talking to me, you're in front of me, you're going to hear about me, my painting, my this, my that, my career, and then you go ahead and you tell me about your career, because in the part of the universe that I come from, people don't get together to eat some food, eat at home. Get together to talk, where are you going, what are you doing, that's called networking. If you're hungry, eat at home. If you're tired, go to bed at home. He got it. I said to myself, thank God. I said to him, because he once said to me, when we talked about the recruiting project, he was the only one who said to me, it didn't happen because people didn't want it. He said. People saw it as a piece of homework, something that was good to do, but they didn't want it. And in this world, I promise you, you don't get what you don't want. This This man here wanted it. He wanted his pictures hanging up. He wanted this. He wanted that. He wanted to have his show there, and he's going to have it, as long as he wants it. When he's not sure if he wants it or not, dead dog. So I said to him, if you had, and then he said, I said, well, why did all this happen that way? He says, because I wanted it. And I said, if I had heard you speak that way about recruiting people, you would have had something. I never heard anybody say, I want it. And that's what is missing. Anytime you look through your life, if it crosses your mind that you would like it, but you don't have that get up and sock it to them, you're not going to get it. You're going to get it. Yes, Avedon was a great, great, great internationally famous photographer. And I believe that you're being in a place where he lived, and you're being a photographer, you're going to get what you want. Your pictures are going to hang. You got it. If you remember, the second you say, hello, how do you do? Here's my vacuum cleaner. Because that's what people get together to do. If you're at a bar, it's a different vacuum cleaner, but it's a vacuum cleaner. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. I am indebted. Also, there's another piece of the invisible. It says, last night I saw some on Netflix a couple of days ago about the Sheikh says this when they captured Daniel Pearl. Remember that thing? Daniel Pearl was a reporter for the Wall Street Journal, and he went to Pakistan or something, and they captured him. They cut off his head and cut his body in 10 pieces. And that's what happened to Daniel Pearl. And throughout this, there's a sheikh, partly religious, partly a gangster. The idea of an exchange with people is that, in a manner of speaking, I'm 30, 40, 50 years older than you guys. There has to be some sort of, these are my sons, in a manner of speaking. I wanted my sons to have the ability to go out and sell and make a living like my father did. As long as this man feels like it and wants it, he's going to make a living. Going to make a good one. I hope he makes $1 million. I hope you all make millions, because $1 million isn't what it used to be. He can take care of himself. Yeah. You allowed yourself to feel and come from something that I've been saying forever and ever. Hunger. You're hungry. If you're hungry, go where the food is, ask if you can have a slice, and then grab the rest of it. The world isn't waiting for very back-flowing people. Excuse me, if it's all right, maybe that. No, get out of here. We're still cave people. You get up in the morning, I feel kind of empty. Grab your baseball bat and go and find a saber-toothed tiger and whack him over the head a few times and eat him raw. That's the creature called biped. Bless you. One less kid to worry about. You're on his own. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. I'm here not to perpetuate old philosophies and let's talk about what happened 90 years ago. That for me just does not fly. My belief is you teach something that you know. Boom. And then the person that picks it up and runs further. Or else people will stay forever and ever and ever discussing an interpretation of what somebody was supposed to have said, which to me is pretty much on the bull side. If I help you facilitate something, grab it, learn it, steal it, bend it, use it, and then go out and put it into action. That's what it's for. Good man. The general I don't have to worry about. He could teach me. He's going to be he is my business manager. Signore,
Yes, sir. So,
what's been happening with you since?
a lot of things have been happening. I remember last meeting here, Mr. Gill had asked, well, talk about a success story. And I actually gotten laid off that day. I thought, I don't feel very successful. And then I was trying to think of stories. And it was, I always feel when I come to this meeting, I should at least say something. And I thought, well, I could say this, could say that. And then we talked about the garbanzo bean factory, and then we talked about the other factors. So there's all this success. And so I've been thinking, well, what to do. And then the idea that Mr. Gill is talking about, being hungry and going after something, and having the opportunity and seeing it for yourself. And I got out of the situation that I thought was a dream situation, and then when I compare it to what I actually articulated by writing it down on paper, like how Yossi had talked about, it was much different. The two just were different. So maybe I thought it was at the time. And so what I've been doing lately is really trying to identify, well, what does Mark want, and then how to go after it. And when Mark peels it off layer by layer, it's so much different than what Mark thought was possible. He thought, well, the safety of the corporation, or does he even want to be in the United States? Does he want to go to China? And then all these ideas are just swirling around, and all of them seem possible now. And what is one of the bigger ideas that's coming up is that it doesn't matter to anyone else what Mark is doing, except for what Mark is doing and how he's working on what he wants to do. And hearing this story about Chung, if I'm saying the person's name right, that just put everything aside, followed this path, knew it was true, and went for it. So it's a great lesson that Mark's thinking, well, what does Mark want to do? How is Mark going to go out and attack the day and be what he wants? And Mark had always said, oh, you'd love to be a CEO of some company, this and that. Well, now he's the CEO of himself. It's in a different type of way, but it's actually happening on a day-to-day basis. And it just sort of clicked that this is actually what's happening. And so that idea of controlling Mark's own destiny and not having to be under a safety net of anyone else's has been very eye-opening. So Mark has this new veracity and energy in him that he has not had before, where he's going out and wanting to do things for himself and develop himself and crystallize the idea of what he wants to do. The efficiency and the way he's going after it is much more sharper than he had. And it's really a result of coming here and opening up and being in the meetings on Tuesday and working on this that makes this path possible for Mark now. Mark didn't even see a path for himself, say 5 years ago, but now he sees a path and he can maybe lay it out and create a gold path for himself. And so it's been a little bit less than a month, and he's been attacking every day, looking for that saber-tooth tiger. And just today, he closed the deal to be the digital agency of record with a high-end publisher, which is great, with a friend of his. So that went really, really well. So he's now he sees the shingle up on the door of what he wants to do, and that was almost exactly what he wanted to do. He wanted to be a digital creative person for a high-end product, and it happened. And it just seems miraculous. When Mark actually wrote down what he wanted to do, it's almost every detail had happened. And then he also got another consulting gig just yesterday where he gets to go out and find people who need iPhone apps, like for their phones, develop him with the person and market him for a company. They want him to just be a gunslinger, so to speak, to go out and do it. And that's also exactly what Mark wanted to do. And so these two ideas Mark wanted just all of a sudden happened. And then all these other interviews that are happening as well. So at Tuesday's meeting, Mark was really prompted that to really think about what does he want. Because if Mark just puts confusion out there, he's just going to get confusion back. It'll be 3 months here, 6 months here. And to be as sharp as possible about what he wants. Because he really sees it as a gift, the reflection that everyone has given him. And he had said in Tuesday's meeting, it seemed like he was with a council of elders, and he had never spoken like that, and being so honest and open with everyone there and the reflection he had gotten. It was quite miraculous for Mark to go through that, and the results that happened almost right away. Mr. Gill has suggested to Mark, well, this is how the big boys play. They get a job, it's fine, it's okay, just let it go, you're not playing for marbles. And then Mark had a huge interview yesterday with someone at the very top of Universal Music. And he just thought, wow, this job's a little out of his league. He's just going to do what Mr. Gill said. And then he knew going in he was an uphill battle. The woman gets on the phone and says, we've had a lot of people talk about this job. We've been suggested, a lot of people, we got to turn them down because we're looking for someone who has something we don't. And Mark immediately said, well, why don't we have our conversation, talk about it. If I'm not the right person, I'll help you find the right person, because I know lots of people who might be able to do this. And it just really felt like that wave that Mr. Gill had talked about right away to just make it seem like Mark was just offering help to this person instead of panicking and thinking, I'm not right. And everything just been perfect after that. And at the end of the call, all of a sudden Mark was at the top of the list, but just swaying with it. And we also talked Tuesday about how it's not so much about working and being present and thinking about what you want, but bring yourself to a little bit higher level and acting like you're there and doing it. And so at this meeting, Mark had a meeting this morning with his high-end publisher. We went in and pitched. And Mark thought, wow, he's never done this before. He's out of his league, he's always high. He just sat there with his suit and just pretended he was at the meeting and just talked and said, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and boom, and close at the end. And it's just miraculous how just the 4 days up to this, by just hearing some advice on Monday and Tuesday and putting it into action on Wednesday and Thursday, just how fast things can change by putting out that dream and making it happen. So this activity, now Mark's supposed to put to all parts of his life, really crystallize what he wants and put it out to the universe and see so he can really get it back by putting the work in. And
congratulations. Point I want to present short ones. In the old days, guys like my father applied for a job. Often there was a sign outside, man wanted. You walk in, hello, I'm man. What's the job? I can do anything. Basically from people who couldn't really do anything, but I'll try anything. Most of the times, that was before he went in the subway, which is part of your story. He came home and my mother had to open the windows because the place smelled of gas. Because he was digging holes in the street for the WPA, Work Projects Administration, in the 30s, where the government or the city gave you some dopey jobs that you could eat. And his jobs were mostly digging holes in the street because he didn't know how to do anything. What Mark is talking about is the company has a job, a slot, a person. You don't have a job, you have a career. You do what you do. They wish to contract and hire a career person who will do what they do and they can make money from it. This is an exchange. You bring your talents, you bring your career, you bring what you're good at. I have a place for it in my business, and I better be making money from having you there, or else it's goodbye, Charlie. So you are your career. Never lose sight of that. You are the job, you are the career. It's not like one man is smaller and the other man behind the desk is bigger. You have something, I have something. We trade, we exchange ideas, we exchange efforts. Hopefully I come out better and you come out better. If we don't come out better, we're going to be looking for somebody else. You use the word, you waited. When my father got a chance to have a little possibility loom up, working in a restaurant, he had met a guy who was an executive in the subway system, when it was called the IRT, Interborough Rapid Transit Company. And the guy said, Frank, you need a job, come around and see me. He was at this big building somewhere. So a couple of years passed. My father was really uptight, really out of work. And he remembered this man. And he remembered the building where this man worked. And he stood outside on the street in front of the building all day long, for days, hoping to see the man come out. And he waited and waited. Building was closed, it would be night, go home, come back next day. Finally the guy came out, my father said, hey, I'm Frank. Yeah, I need a job. Boom. He got him into the subway system, and in 1937 he came home, opened this bag, put on this cap, and said, I've got a real job. And he was never out of work again in his life. Because he went to work in the subway and he stayed there. And they gave him different shifts and this and that. He stuck it out. He was there until he was 65. My mother collected his part of the pension until the day she died. Yeah. So sometimes you have to wait and wait and wait. Just like we said about the guy who's hungry in his cave. You got to sit outside your cave with your baseball bat in hand and wait until something comes by that you could eat. And you wait. And to this day, something like hunters understand that. You build this blind and you build this thing. You sit there and you wait maybe an entire day or 2 or 3 for this one deer or something to walk by. And you got one shot. If you make it, you bring home something. If not, you have to wait for next year. Yeah. Mr. Mark is hungry. If you're not hungry, you're not going to eat. I came down on you pretty hard in the last month or 2. You got it.
I appreciate you coming down hard. It's been a good set of changes, really.
Yeah, tell them the whole before and after story.
Well, I've been out in California for a couple of weeks working on this job. Definitely have been a little purposeless, I think, in this position. And you talk about being hungry. I was given the title of CFO, but I didn't want it. I didn't even know what it meant. I certainly wasn't getting paid it. And so I decided to do an experiment, go out there and see if I could learn to be a manager, learn to run something, learn to heal a very messy group of people, very negative, difficult place. Literally everyone is pointing a finger at someone else and saying, you need to fire them. And I work for a man who's very negative. He does it with a smile. Everything is smiling, talking about how awful things are. And I've just been a worker, basically, for a while, just kind of trying to find what in the heck I want to do. Talk about what you want. I don't know if I've had that luxury of knowing what I want. I know it's my task to find what I want. So I've been doing this company thing. Fine, go out there, take control. That was great. Meanwhile, I have something else going on the side. I've been talking to Gil for, I don't know how many years it's been. 6 years? I don't even know. This man wants to write. He feels that in his path, that's the one place where he feels the most creative. It's where he feels that there is a connection to something divine. But he's never really finished anything. So he took an aim with Mr. Gill to finish a piece of writing. He procrastinated terribly, and he knew he would. And he took this trip also as a chance to go out there and try and prove himself that he could do it. And admittedly, he felt like he came up against the blackest and most difficult parts of himself. He was alone in one little terrible room with literally no furniture. And at the first week, great. Every morning he'd get up, and he'd go and he'd write, and he'd go to the work, and he would try and inspire these people. And somewhere in the middle of that week, he got very lost. Partly because he was reading old journals, and I think he allowed himself to get steeped in a mindset or just allow himself to get lost. And so he took 3 days of being very lost. And he knew that he was there to go and spend some time with his grandmother, who passed away a long time ago. And she's buried very close by in California. He's probably driven by her grave many, many times, never been there. And he's writing about her. That's what this project is. So he made the appointment with himself to go, and he sat down, found her grave, and literally wept for about 4 hours. Wept and read and sensed and talked. And it was all this darkness and blackness that he had gone through, and this allowing himself to be lost. He was so ashamed because he felt like You know, these people can see your life. They're there for you. He's writing this book for her, for him and for her. And the release was really incredible. And he came back and he did complete the first part of his aim. He has this big chunk of writing. And now he's got to figure out how to get like these two gentlemen. Which I think, how can you believe in yourself enough that you can sell it? Not be, you know, all the years of, oh, what do you do? I know, I've been a director, an interior designer, a writer, a businessman, a clothing store owner. The number of things I've done is crazy. But what did I want to do? What do I want to do now? And I was sitting here listening, and I'm thinking, today I was working from home because I couldn't really get to work. And I had this experience of being in my office actually as an office. I've never sat in my office and conducted business from there. It's been a place where I go and write, where I go and do my exercise, and then I leave and go to my other office. And I have a big mirror in my office. And the last 2 days been really pretty much from 7 o'clock on, working the whole time, running these 3 companies. It's a New York company, a New Jersey company, and a California company. And my boss is clueless. He has no idea what's going on. And I'm trying to fix everything and on the phone. And I'm aware of this mirror. And I can see myself. And I'm speaking to people on the phone, and I'm doing a mirror exercise in a way. I'm watching this man, and I'm trying to be aware of what he's doing. And really my main goal in this last 2 days has been to help other people to do things. I have all these employees who don't know what they're doing. They all blame each other. They don't know what their job is. I have one woman who I hired I can hear the frustration in her voice every time I tell her what she needs to do. And today I actually feel like I crossed a little bit of a border with her, because we started talking about, well, how do you learn? How can I help you learn better? Every time I speak to you, I can hear you go crazy. You know, I'm using words. Maybe words aren't a good thing for you. Maybe we need to work in images. Maybe you need to draw out what you need to do. And I could hear her kind of getting excited. She's a little bit of a creative person who's gotten lost around her life. Like, how can I help this person like I would have helped an actor years ago to find their character? It's a different person. Every time you have an actor in front of you, you are working with someone completely new. And you can't use the same skill set with one person or another, so I'm going to change it up. How can I help this person? And I ended the conversation with her, and I actually feel like she might be encouraged. Maybe she can go out and learn this job, or create a way where she can learn. So I feel very much that I'm learning how to manage the business of my life, the business I'm in. I still am not certain I could say what I want, other than to become successful at living my life, successful at my business. Definitely want to continue writing and make it big part of my life. I do question. I remember earlier walking in, hearing a little bit of Mark, what he's been going through. He said, yeah, what a good experience it was to lose his job and to have all these options to create a new life. And this man had a brief moment of melancholy for himself. Just thinking, all right, I've had that a couple times, and I've not done that yet. Still haven't grabbed a hold of it and said, this is what I want, and this is what I'm going to do. But it's important to learn that lesson. And I think I have.
I've been watching you for years, man. Whatever you do, you add a tag called, but I'm not sure I want to do this. Is this what I want to do for the rest of my life? Always a door opens up so that you don't have to sign on the dotted line. For some reason, you interpret signing on the dotted line as the end of the road, the end of opportunity, death in some symbolic way. Because you have that kind of difficulty telling yourself, go. With your employees in California, the same difficulty. And we discussed that woman who didn't know how to answer the phone or what. And what did I say? Within 30 seconds of hearing it.
I don't remember that particular one, but
She was the woman who answers the phone that doesn't know what's happening. I said, fire her. That's all. Somebody doesn't know what they're doing, you fire them. You get somebody who does. He's talking about photography. He's talking about internet in some way. Talk to Pamela, she'll tell you about Tribal Link. Whoever you talk to, if they think about it clearly enough, they wish to persuade you to do something that they want to see done. I contend that there is no difference in the world, whether it's glasses you're involved with, or this, or speakers, or floors, or chairs, or anything in the world. I want to persuade you to do what I would like you to do. Vote for the candidate I've got, vote for me, buy my building, buy my car. Let me take your dog out for a walk 5 times a week. Whatever it is, one person wants to persuade another person to do it his way. In that sense, from where I project, to me it makes no difference whether I tell you buy my windows or buy my speakers or buy my car or anything else. What did we do in this room over years? People came in with a mode of thinking. And we read and we spoke. with the purpose of saying eventually, if you do all that I suggest, you will think clearly, you will be this and this. And people said, I want that, and they did it. Nothing is multi-complex. And, oh, I don't know if I want to do that. Do whatever you're doing, do it fully. Win. Okay? The world falls down. Ooh! Yeah, win. Whatever you're doing, win. Because certainly I hope and pray that you didn't get up this morning to lose. For me, what flew last month doesn't fly now. What was good a month ago is not good anymore. There's nothing worse in this world than people saying, but you said 18 years ago. Come on. I can't even think of that without feeling bugged. Important to get a clearer picture of what you want. I'm not saying what you want forever. What am I going to want 30 years from now? I don't know if I should say that because I might change my mind to what do you want right now? You want a tuna fish sandwich? Go out in the street and get one. Bam, bam, do it. But you sit around, what do I really want? What do I really think? But I'm not sure. No, nobody. For me, nobody is ever sure. I'm here now, and I want to do this, and I do it the best of my ability, and tomorrow I don't want to do that anymore. No? Do something else. That's the freedom of being in what they call now. Can't help me being yesterday. What do you want? Whether it's big time, small time, approved by somebody, not approved, what do you want for the next hour or the next day? Go out and get it. If you don't know how to get it, learn how to get it. Allow yourself to want desperately. I know in certain quarters one is not supposed to want anything. Hello. My name is... My name is... My name is... He needs another battery. Come on. People want to win elections. They want to do this. They want something in this world. Because when you don't want in this world, by my humble opinion, you're half dead. So we've got 1, 2, 3 guys that are 4. You.
I'm on the phone, yes.
You want to talk?
I can talk.
Do you want to talk?
Yes, why not?
Talk.
Do you want me to talk?
What does that have to do with what I want?
I want to talk, yes. You know, when we started the meeting, you said take your the time and look at yourself where you are, this and that, and an image came to my mind. And you know, I always value an idea if I take a story from Yossi and I take the story and I put it on my idea. It needs to fit. Then I take the story from Mark X, and it fits. And then I go to Mark Lehman, take his story, and it fits. Then my idea is a good idea. But if it doesn't fit, it works here, but it doesn't work there. It's not such. And the idea was pretty good because it worked the whole evening. And what came to my mind was that I am a man who lives in a kingdom, and the walls of my kingdom, and the borders are set by me. And I have this glimpse. I usually see my kingdom from the inside. And I see my house, I see that I'm in a room. And I saw this castle in a really, really endless, green, beautiful space. But I live in this little castle, and outside, all these beautiful things. You know what we want, what I want, is always imprints that are inside of me. This is what I deserve. I can do. But if something else comes and I think it's too big for me, it's my idea that it's too big for me. There's a saying that I really love. It's do every day, do one thing that you're afraid of. So you push your wall, and you're in construction. You're always in construction. I call it transformation. You always move some walls, this room, I've been in this room a million times, lock it, it's a bad room. I don't like this room. Let's open a new room. Let's open balconies. Let's open some sun, let it come in. In business, I always think of this idea as a bus. We all drive a bus, and we want to go somewhere with this bus. I always think of it in my companies and my work, and even I guess the family, everywhere I go, I always think that I have a bus. And it's very important to understand that whatever we do in life, whatever I do in life, I always stop where I stop. When I do the dishes, I stop where I stop. When I surf, when I do things I like and I don't like. And if you push yourself to do the most crazy things or not as important thing, but do it well, as Gil says, if you do something, do it well. It doesn't really matter what it is, because we think it's important. So we don't, this is important, we'll do it well, and this is, we're not going to do well. So when I look at business and in my life, I say, where is this bus going? I have period of times in my life that I know exactly. And sometimes life gives me curves and intersections and I'm not sure. And I always go back to the people in the bus. In my companies, there's employees. My job has always been to put the right people in the right seat. And a lot of the time, they don't want to be in this seat. They want to be in the other seat. But in the other seat, they don't know what they're doing. So you have to make sure they sit in the right place, because this is what they know how to do. Now, a lot of the time, when you take a bus that is already, you get on the bus with people, the most important thing is to get off the bus the people that do not belong, because they will ruin the company, or the friendship, or the club, or whatever it is. It's like a cancer, because they don't know what they're doing. And they're like, you take them, thank you very much. You're doing him a favor. I always look, when I fire someone, I always remember a few people I fired that later on called me and said, oh, we're doing great, and I felt this is a favor that I'm doing to someone. If I have the power to fire people because they don't know what they're doing in this type of business, you take them out. You're doing them a favor and you're saving a company, you give your company a chance. So it's very simple. You always have to see, what do you do best in the world? What is it you do best in the world? It's not so hard to know, because it's not what I want. It's what do I do well. And then do it all the way. Because what we do is we do something, and then, okay, we did it. We reached the level, and that's it. And then we do another thing. And then we reach another level, and then we want to do another thing. We're not committed. Because it's not important what you do. The most important thing is to do it well and to be the best in the world. Now, it's not easy to be the best in the world because we are not trained. We do not live in the world of excellence. We live in a city of excellence. But the world is everybody's like, doing you a favor. Everybody's like, yeah, I'm doing okay. Being okay, it's fine. But nobody wants to strive to be good, because I think when you do well, you feel well. And when you don't do so well, you feel like not so well. Now we want to be happy. It's very simple. Do good things, you'll feel good. Do bad things, you'll feel bad. So thinking of the bus, when we look at ourselves and looking in business, it's very, very important. The team, without the team, one man alone cannot do too much. And usually it's a specific person who doesn't like to work with people, he wants to be alone, he always keeps the company, I do everything and nothing is done right. But if you want to do something, you always have a team, and the team is extremely important. And managing a team, it's an art, but the ego needs to go out. Because when you manage a company, you have to manage it as if it's a system that you are not a part of. Which means if you die tomorrow, the system continue to go. And we have always a part in ourselves that fights and wants always to control everything and to make sure that everybody knows, without me, nothing works around here. But when you do it this way, it doesn't work. Because management is not you doing everything. Management is managing other people to do what you know they do best. And then encouragement and finding the people that are committed. And I think another idea that is very important, that a lot of people think, I don't have the talent. I don't think it's about talent. I think it's about practicing. If you practice and practice and practice and practice, I think you will go over, the talent. Of course, there is people who has the spark, There is some people. But not everybody has the spark. So you cannot say, I don't have the spark, I can't do it. You can do it with or without the spark. You can do anything you set your mind to, understanding that your castle is your imagination. And you can break the walls and use other people who's been out there. As Gurdjieff said, we are in a jail and we need a person from the outside to teach us how to go. And
I'd love to make a remark about Albert's, how he opened it and how he closed it. Because when I was in Israel last time, no, the time before, the day that I said goodbye to my father at the hospital, and I got into my sister's car and she drove me to the airport, her clock in her car was not fixed. They changed the time in Israel. I remember what was like an hour back or an hour ahead, and I said, is this the right time? And I was panicking because I thought I'm completely missing the flight. And she said, no, I don't know how to set this clock properly. And I don't know, my hand just went out to the clock and just started pressing the buttons, and within a second it was set. Now I've never set a clock in that car, but it just seemed like I don't have to stop and think how it's done, but just to do it. And it's done. And then I turned to her and I said, I'm all powerful. I can do whatever I want. The only thing that stops us from doing what we want and puts limits on us is the fact that we think that we have limits. We're basically limitless, and the limits and the boundaries that we put are what we put there. It's none of it is real. It's we decide where our talents end where our capabilities end, and that's where it ends. And when you realize that there is no wall there, you can basically push it further and further, then you can push it further and further.
No, I think it's deeper than that. I think the fact that we understand that we have the limits makes us go and say, okay, there is a system here that we need to figure out. Then Gurdjieff comes, and many, many other books and religions, and explain personality, shame, fear, all of these things. Without observation, it's a lecture of, be the best you can be and go to the army. But this is much, much deeper. The ideas of the work, to put it right, maybe I should put it in a different way. We have meetings every Tuesday. When a meeting starts with a book, Maurice Nicoll said this and Maurice Nicoll, and we all talk from a theoretical point of view. But when a guy comes and says, guys, I lost my job, it's like, whoa. And we're talking about work ideas of how to deal with losing a job and how a person looks at it. It's a different ballgame. This is work in progress for real. To do construction in the house, it's not an idea that says, okay, construction in the house is pretty damn hard. You look at yourself, you see shame from when you were 5 years old, 7 years old, you're sitting in a conference room and you see this shame comes up, and this shame causes you to not think of yourself that you belong to this league. And you do observation and you let it up. And then you look at the people that you with, and they think, okay, Albert is here, Albert is going to take care of business. So on one hand, you see yourself, you say, I have no idea what I'm doing here. And then your team is treating you and looking at you as like, you are the man, you are the front man here. So you say to yourself, hold on 1 second. My team thinks I'm great. I'm the only one in this room who thinks I'm not. Maybe we should examine this. Maybe it's not real. This understanding is breaking a wall. You just pushed another limit, really, in real life, not in the house writing, in your journal, in a situation. And next time you are again in a situation, or in a meeting, or in a conference room, you push and you push and you push and you push. Because everybody in this room feels exactly the same. Exactly the same. Some of them are older, they have a little bit more experience, some of them are more comfortable, some of them are more gifted, some of them are stars, some of them are not. But pretty much it's all people. And always thinking, what do I do best? Really, what am I here? Why everybody has a job here? What is my job? What do I do best? Let's do what I do and take it to the next level. Just do that. Just be the best in what you do. Don't try to do all these things. Keep it simple. So without, we talk about business. It's not about being rich. It's not about being successful. It's about, right now, we're not. We came to this world, we're not successful. Nobody here is a millionaire yet. Maybe David Fowler is the only one that really works with the big guys, with the big shots. Millions and millions of dollars. Every decision is like banks. So can we make it? Of course we can. But we have to do it. And
you mentioned Fowler. Every time I talk to Fowler, he says, I don't know what to do, I say, you must be doing something right, because last week you bought 39 banks. He said, I guess so, yeah. You must be doing something incredibly well that millions of dollars go through your desk every single hour. And you're at this 20 hours a day. I said, what do you do and how do you do it? He said, write it out. So I made him write it out. Principles of business. Did you guys get part 2? Everybody got it? No.
Part 1.
Very
Just
good.
part 1. Maybe I have part 1 minus, or I have part 1 and this part 2. But anyway, he wrote out 4 principles for me. Maybe he wrote them out again for you, whatever. This guy is very, very sharp. Wow. Yes, sirree. This guy is extremely sharp. Much credit for him for that. Albert is so right when he says people are willing to sit around for years and read about what's it. Yes, but that isn't what he said. This entire thing of let's not move into the real world. Let's discuss the world of theories. I've been doing that. I don't want to do it anymore. I can't stand it anymore. Man walks in and says, I lost my job. Hey, that's real stuff happening to a brother. He lost his job. Now what's he going to do? I lost my apartment. Now what? This happened, that happened. I suddenly got promoted. What am I going to do? This is real life. And I think that we've been talking about for years and years about the tools of how to live this life more efficiently. And what do you say, better or worse? More efficiently. Yeah, do you have tools to go to the next place, wherever it may be? I don't know. You're going to find out. And we're all here to help you.
Yeah, Mark feels now he does. He feels like just recently he didn't. And if he didn't have this group and support, he may not have had the strength and courage. Even his communication with Mr. Gill about praying for Mark and saying this is going to be possible. Mark thinks of that every day, which gives Mark a kick to go and do it. Mark is standing outside that door today at 1620 West 22nd Street. He looks up and he sees he's like, Mark has the strength and courage because someone's thinking about that. And he opens the door and he walks in. And so each time when he thinks, well, maybe I can't, Robert says, challenge that fear. And he thinks, poof, the fear goes away. Nothing is happening right now. Anytime you've been rejected, this or that, that's shame. It's just slide across it like the ice and still stand at the other side. Because it's not happening right now. What's going to happen now is going to be success. Because Mark's going to observe and learn about this situation no matter what. Mark would never have thought of that way before. And it's from the feedback Mark's gotten from the group and from being here. And
I think that in what I see in me, when I'm uncomfortable, I have this urge in me to go back to me, when I'm comfortable. And only when I'm uncomfortable, I work. And I think this is a great tip for people to see where they are uncomfortable and go there. Stay there a little bit. Get used to it. Because in the end of the day, it's so uncomfortable. I was talking with the research and developer, chief director of research and developer of Metagenics, one of the biggest, most famous companies in the world. Alejandro, the doctor is in Australia, the other guy is there. I said, okay, I'll make the phone calls. Now, I'm talking about an area that I have no clue. Not one idea of what I'm going to talk about. I have this piece of paper with all my notes, and I call her. I met her, so I broke the ice a little bit, and my legs is like shaking, and I feel very, very uncomfortable, and my voice, I feel it. I feel that I need to control it a little bit, and I'm like, I'll go. be cool, stay cool. And my body doesn't want to listen to me, you know? And I said, Deanna, we are designing this maintenance kit that we want to do. And I'm explaining to her about diseases that Alejandro Junger wrote me in an email. And I have no idea about this. This GM and disorder. And I'm talking things that I don't know. And then I said, Deanna, that I'm the business person and I don't understand exactly. But the idea is that we want you to help us develop these kits, especially for people, according to this, and this is a conversation, and at the end of the 10 minutes or 15 minutes I spent with her, at the end of it was good. I delivered. It was very difficult for me, and it was very uncomfortable. And when I hung up the phone, I realized that I'm actually hot, I'm sweating. It was a hell of an experience. And now I'm looking forward to doing it again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there, and I'll probably remember this conversation for the rest of my life. The adrenaline, I think, or some, you are awake. You are in danger. You're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's like the deal.
Being awake is very, very, very uncomfortable.
Very uncomfortable. We want to wake up, but we hate the feeling.
I've been saying and thinking, the only thing I like is to be dead. Oh, I gotta call such and such. I forgot to open the window. I gotta open the window. I gotta do this. I gotta answer the telephone. I gotta make breakfast. I gotta. What would you really love to do? Lay here and die. That's the easiest stress-free thing, because notice that we think that everything we say, we got it. I gotta do this, I gotta do that, I forgot to do this, I gotta do. We never say, gee, I want to open the door and walk into the other room. I got her. Brings to mind that 1, 2, 3, 4. Everybody's got a different profession. They are all the same. Everybody here needs tools to do what they have decided to do tomorrow. Clarity, what? These are all we've been studying, tools of life to have a life that works. Very interesting what some guy in Persia said 300 years ago. It's interesting, yeah. If I can use it, I can use it. I want to ask a question that you almost dropped. Pamela and James. Oh, thank goodness. You actually moved and looked. All right. I thought for a while maybe he had left us. Don't do it just because I said so. Sincere, honest opinion, for real. Do you pray?
No.
No. Do you have anything against praying?
No.
No. Do you pray, sir?
I don't pray, and when I have a strong urge to pray, which sometimes occurs if I lost a wallet with $5,000 in it or something like that, I purposely try to avoid it.
When you lose a wallet with $5,000, I pray that I find it. Okay. This is what's been occurring. I've asked everyone I know how they would feel, what's their ideas, of my including them in my prayers. So far, everyone has said yes, but there's no reason why you two should. But I'm offering it as something I will take as a highly personal aim, something that my part is for my development, something that I believe would be of value to the other person. And I think that at present there's maybe close to 20 living people whom I include in my prayers, and a series of people who are departed that I include in my prayers. So I ask you two people here, what is your opinion of my praying for you, including you in my prayers?
I don't think I have an opinion about it. I think that it's something that you want to do, that you should do it.
I don't want to do it unless the other person feels that they are co-respondents in this mutual action.
I'm not sure what a co-respondent would be.
Somebody who realizes that someone is praying for them. This comes out of a lot of ideas, one of them being, scientists have been at it, that people who are in a hospital under illness, without being told that there is someone praying for them, have gotten better more frequently or furthered their health, the ones that are being prayed for compared to the ones that are not being prayed for. So I've taken that and I'm going along with what I see of it. So if you are of the opinion, and you of course, that my praying for you and including you in my prayers would in some way benefit you, I'll do it. The response, the other part of the commitment is that the people I do it with agree not to put me on and say, oh sure, yeah, my life has gotten better, but really, really do this as a piece of work, keeping records for themselves and keeping records that show, gee, since I went into this a month ago or 2 months ago, whenever it was, my life has seen these events that I consider highly to my benefit. So if you believe that you might benefit from my work in this area for yourself, I'll do it. If not, no point in doing it.
Yes, I think I might benefit from it.
Mm-hmm. Would you like me to do it?
Yes.
I would concur. I would like to be included in your prayers
Why?
because I might benefit from it. And I just feel I think I do something similar. I wouldn't call it prayer. I just think of people's well-being
Mm-hmm.
as a focus.
Mm-hmm.
So I would put it in that category.
Okay.
And I find that just responding to something another person is doing with a deep sense of commitment has power for me as a person.
Tell you how this came about. Now, repeat how this came about for others. For quite a while now, whenever I lie down at night to go to bed, or sometimes during the day, I immediately think of my father, all that he meant to me, the story of my father, and what this being did because physically he gave me life. My mother, my Aunt Dell, who I know loved me, my Aunt Camille, who cared very much, and a series of people who are now deceased. I think of them. I'll repeat. I, Gil, exist in a physical body. I am subject to the laws of this existence, of this world, of this realm of matter that I occupy. I'm in the world of matter. I think, and I'm in the world of matter. My father is no longer in the world of matter. He's in the spirit world. Fair enough to say he may have entered into another life, reincarnation. That being that was my father is no longer in the same realm that I am. If I'm in this physical realm, I have certain laws that I exist by. I have certain weaknesses. I have certain powers. My mother, who is deceased, she lives in a different realm, different powers, different capacities, different weaknesses. Pamela puts it, I use the word prayer, but the way you say it is closer to the way I would place it. I think of my mother, and I'm saying, as I try to make progress with my evolution in this realm of matter, I believe that so is she in the spirit world, going for her perfection, for her progress, for her evolution, as she continues. As a living matter person, can I be of assistance in my wishes? That I hope that I can send something of value to her? Do I believe that she can do the same for me? I believe so. If I believe that I can be of assistance to that former living, now deceased being, spirit, entity, if I believe that I can be of service to her, and I don't do it, then I don't want to live with that on my mind, that I could do something, and I have refused to out of laziness or what have you. So I find myself at night thinking, as these spirits go on in their evolution, I hope that they learn what they've got. I hope, Albert told me a beautiful word, what was it, kibbut? Tinuk? Tikkun. That as a spirit I came here to do something that needs fixing. Perhaps they are working on their destiny. Can I help? And I come to the conclusion, yes, I believe I can. Or at least, damn it, I'm willing to try. So I do it. Oddly enough, or not oddly enough is bullshit. My life has reached a point where it is so terrific that I can hardly believe it. Wow. On a daily, ongoing basis, wonderful things happen to me. Wonderful ideas come to me. I feel, wow. Whew. Am I lucky? Am I fortunate? As the movie picture said, somebody up there likes me. Somewhere outside, somebody likes me. Again, we've discussed Where does Gil end? At his skin? Do I have a range of influence of 2 inches, 3 inches, 5 inches, 50 blocks, 50,000 miles? I don't know. But I gotta try to find out. So I'm trying to find out. Can I think of Pamela or anyone here or anyone that I know? Can I be of service in the area of my thoughts? Well, I think I can. And if I think I can, I must. I would want to enter the spirit power, that realm, with somebody who says, "No, Gil, please don't do that around me or with me or for me. No, don't do it. Thanks anyway." So I've offered everyone in work that I will do this. And I give this as an aim that is incredibly important in my life, that I must do. It's not like, oh, yesterday I was busy or I was tired, oh my God, I forgot. None of that crap. I will not forget. Perhaps I've been doing aims for so many years for the purpose of being able to take on an aim which I feel is really difficult and do it. Well, in this room, with the exception of these two people who I just asked tonight, I'm doing it with everyone. And I feel better. How can I not think of Ida and wondering that there's a spirit out there who's on their progress of evolution to what? I don't know. But I have the impression, a strong one, that that being is moving. So if I can help, I must help. I owe it. The list gets longer when I include the beings that are no longer alive at this time. And it's what do you think?
I mean, that's a world that I used to have some sort of rapport with. That at the moment, it's not of something that's of interest to me. But it doesn't mean I have an open mind as to whether it's something that is whether something happens in that manner or not. It's something that was part of, I would say, my development at some point, and at the moment isn't. It doesn't mean that it wouldn't at some point return, or that it's not something that is happening all around me and I'm not aware of. But I want to explain why I said that that if I have an urge to pray, I purposefully don't, because I feel like it's falling back kind of into old programming, and I feel like I'm it's almost like a sacrilege for me to do that when that's something that it's not something that I really believe in. It's not something that I want to lead my life by. It's like depending on an old crutch. in some way, and I feel like I'm trying to walk without the crutch. And that's significant to me.
Mhm. If you were to think, gee, I hope Gil has a better life, is that prayer?
I don't think of that as prayer. I mean, I think of that. No, I mean, that seems to me just something one would normally do. The ones that are people that are in my life, I mean, I always have positive thoughts about them.
Do you have an idea, or if your positive thoughts are of some benefit to them?
I have no idea.
Well, if you have positive thoughts about Sue, are you going to have them even whether she may not benefit from it?
Yeah.
Why do you have them?
I don't. I wouldn't say I cultivate them, or that they just are in my mind. If I think about somebody, I mean, sort of associative thinking. Someone comes into my mind, and I think well of it. But it's not something that in my life at this moment. It's not something I take any effort to do, or not do.
When you do it, is it a form of pleasure or benefit or something positive to you?
I mean, I have kind of a warm, positive feeling about it, I would say.
Could you go a little bit more into that?
Well, like just tonight, I was with this young child, and I don't know her. I was going to a job, and she was bringing a drawing, and I asked about her drawing, and I felt when I talked with her, I felt this very warm rapport. So it was like there was something from myself reaching out to her. Well, if somebody's not there, I can sort of in my imagination conjure up this person and feel like that same sort of thing. That whatever emotion I'm having with the child, I can feel with imaginary figure in my mind, so to speak. So
Imaginary
that same emotional feeling I had, I liked the feeling that I was having in my body, in mind, whatever, with that child, and I like that sometimes with these imaginary images in my mind.
Is Sue imaginary, or is it a mental picture of a real person?
Oh God, that's I mean, she's both.
That's the nicest thing anyone ever said, though.
Then I close my eyes, and if I imagine an imaginary person, I don't know that imaginary person because I've constructed them in my mind. If I close my eyes or open my eyes and think of Mark, that's a real person whom I do know. Yeah. Well, when you say that you think of Susan and you think rather good things about it, well, you become awfully smiley and beamy and...
Yeah, I mean, I was just imagining, the experience I had with this child.
Yeah.
And I'm imagining it in the process of talking about it, and I'm feeling, it was wonderful. I mean, I loved it.
You loved it. It's
Yeah.
wonderful. Why don't you do it more often? Can you do it with me, thinking of me? If it benefits, I'll let you know in the morning.
I guess, I mean, I don't do it because I'm mostly busy doing other things. I'm busy making money or trying to make money. So,
Ooh, I don't want to touch that. No, I don't want to say that. Could you possibly make more money if you thought of me? Or take Albert. When you have the urge to make more money, can you think of Albert?
I don't really have an urge to make more money. All I have an urge is to get, if I have a document that needs to be written, I have to write the document. If there's a phone call that needs to be made, I make it.
Right.
I'm never thinking about really making money, I would say. I'm thinking about
When you got an object, when you've got a phone call to make or a document to write, do you suppose it might come easier if you think of Albert? Harder?
I don't know.
Well, you have to try it. Well, I'm going to pray for you anyway. Pray with you or think of you. I hope you answer your phone and write your document. Now you, young lady, what do you think of these festivities?
What are the festivities?
Hmm?
What festivities?
My entertaining thoughts of your well-being in my mind. Sending you good wishes, etc. Sending you joyful landlord-tenant relationships. Good stuff.
Why not?
Why not?
I already said, I believe those things have an influence.
He went pretty much into it. Could give us...
But I don't know how. I would say, I just, they've sort of proven it with like plants, with water, with different things. The energy that you emit out toward others and toward things in general seem to have a positive effect. I feel that way.
Well, is that... And I go, yes. It was in the 70s that book came out. The plant.
The water. Now the water.
The water related, that Japanese guy.
Right.
All right.
But it
Do you
depends.
have to be near the plant for the plant to, quotes, feel better or feel worse? Or can you do this from 10 miles away?
I don't think it makes a difference where you are. It can
Doesn't
be
make a
anywhere.
difference. So if this particular plant is in London, can you have some communication with that plant where the plant feels worse or feels better or keels over or something?
I suppose so.
You suppose so. Okay.
This is a scientific discussion.
Are you willing to get a plant and put it in London and have somebody examine the plant and get some...
I don't think it interests me enough to.
Doesn't interest you enough. I see, okay. Well, hard-hearted of you, but... Okay. Albert.
My accountant today, every Thursday, I have an accountant who comes and takes care of the books. He gives me the report of 2009. He says, I see him, he's looking and he's flipping. And I said, what are you doing? He says, it doesn't make sense. I think I made a mistake. I said, what's the mistake? He says, last year, we made more money and we bought less. So I probably made a mistake. And I said, no, you got it right. I said, why? And I said, because I lived in Israel and I did not put so much attention in the business. And last year, I was here the whole year and I put much more attention. And because of the clean program, I'm here day and night. So, I'm giving more attention to my employees, to the business. So automatically, it will do well. I've seen it many, many times. And he's looking at me, he's like, now it makes sense. For the year you were in Israel, it looks like this, and before and after, it goes back to the situation. Exactly the same with the plant, exactly with the relationship. In the beginning, all my girlfriends, I used to give them flowers and this, yeah, they were very happy. And then when I they didn't like me so much, and they didn't do so well. Prayer is exactly the same. It's not an automatic thing. It's a conscious, you make an appointment with yourself to actually do something for another person. It's not an automatic thing. An automatic is always me, moi, moi, moi. You know, I grew up in Israel. In Israel, prayer is like eating junk food in the United States. Everybody's doing it. In Israel, there is rabbis, very old rabbis, that will sit in the corner of a synagogue or in a cave of a very old rabbi that is well known, and they will sit there, and people will actually stay in line, and have some money in their pocket. And they go to him, bow his head, and he will put their hands and pray. This is what he does. This is his job. So prayer, I think, is the most ancient wishing well. I mean, come on. When he told me, can I pray for you? Yes, I'm your first customer. I'm very busy, you know. If you can help me out there, because it's an area that I cannot handle, you know. I wish I could do it, but I don't have time, I'll be honest with you. I have 2 people that I pray for in the morning. If I add another 2 or 3, that's it. I can't. 2. That's all I have.
I can hardly believe that Albert came over to me and gave me money and proceeded with me in this.
I hooked him up. And of course I'll send him the pictures of me and my family, and I'll keep him posted on the area I need help with.
Yes, I want pictures of everyone that I've entered this with. And in the Hebraic style, the mother and the father's name.
Yes, usually the guy puts, he asks for your name, he says Albert, the son of Raphael, and Alice Biton. And he repeats. And then he goes through his prayer, he goes into a trance, whatever he does. He does it, you know, a lot. This is what he does. He does it 8, 9, 10 hours a day. He's also good at it.
How do you know he's good at it?
Look, if you do something, if he's 80 years old, he's been doing it since his 40s, 40 years, 8 hours a day, Monday to Friday, you figure it out. He's a pro.
Oh, that's your philosophy there. Do you know any trumpet players that have been playing for 40 years? They started out being lousy trumpet players, and they're still lousy trumpet players, maybe even worse. Anyway, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. Like you're saying with the plant, if the plant is in London and you're here, that the plant is able to absorb something. Rodney Collin had said, when you walk into a room, you can alter the room with your presence, with your thought, whatever. And I'm saying, can I be of service to someone who I don't see? I'm more than willing to accept that I can't. But I also have to be willing to accept that I can. And if I can, then not doing it, for me, is a major crime. Crime of omission. What are some thoughts? You haven't said anything. You haven't said what? Some people's thoughts. This is I think there's pretty deep stuff.
I'll say one thing on the on the topic of prayer, well, that's somewhat related. As has been said, the word prayer is something that when Gil had asked me if I pray, as he asked Pamela and James, my answer was no. But yet I do wish people well-being from time to time. And I think this happened last week. I was thinking about the 2 o'clock exercise, and for whatever reason, it just occurred to me that I'd been doing this exercise for 8 years, and I started adding up. Okay, that's 8 years. How many days in a year? How many times have I supposedly done this exercise? Which was several thousand. And last week it occurred to me the first time as I was doing it, in an open space and in a workplace where there's other people I know, and as I was doing it silently in my mind, I happened to be looking at someone who I don't know that well, but I respect this man, and it's kind of getting to know him recently on a superficial level, but I have a good feeling about this person. And as I was saying those words, I said, I'm going to say those words for this person also. So I am alive, I want to live. I wish the same for this person. And it felt very, very, a very intimate thing. It was a very silent thing, looking at him across the room where the coats are, and he was looking down his computer, but I almost flinched, like looking away, because it felt very intimate. And that was it. The moment passed, and then a week passed, and then I was doing the exercise again in a similar space, and this other person was there who I feel very similar, have a similar feeling for, and I did the same thing, just said the words as I do to myself silently, and said them for him, just wishing him well with those words. And to me, those words are a prayer. And again, it was a pretty intimate. It felt I could feel something, and it felt like it was doing something. It felt like this person could hear it somewhere. And so the whole experience, I just related as one, just surprising that it never occurred to me to do something like this, and the thousands of times I've been doing something. So I thought, well, I wonder how many other things I've been doing thousands of times that I hadn't really thought creatively about, and just to relate, because it was a pretty powerful experience, just the 2 times that I had done it. So it might inspire others to do something similar. And coincidentally, on the topic of prayer, it seems to me a form of prayer, and then this whole topic came up this week, and it's incredibly attractive to me, and I've already thought, I want to do this too. I want to think of some people to pray about as well. So I do appreciate this, the idea of prayer coming here.
I would add, like when Derek was speaking, something that came to mind. Is there, to add to that, the idea of gesture, that I find that in my life, it's the level of intent that someone has toward you, but that's also combined with the kind of chemistry, that there's a synergy between certain souls that is stronger, a certain kind of transmission of caring that really it translates into action. There might be someone praying for you, and that, you're working on that idea of how does it translate into action, of something where when you think of that person, people use the word love, or what, those people have altered your life. Other people could be practicing this with you, but you don't have any connection to that person so far. That it can be developed, but without somebody doing something for you, it's like how in Niraj's book on, the essay on conscious love. Like conscious love is the ability to, before the person is aware, make a gesture toward that soul, pre-conscious to them even being aware. That to me is where it gets interesting. And I would say, other than that, people are practicing. And actually their energy, if you take away words, prayer, love, don't have any words, and energy comes toward you, it's really kind of unpleasant. Some energy is really, that it's not something that you want to eat. It's like something you're eating. It's food. And there is this whole domain. And you remember the real thing. And I don't think people, all of us can do that with each other, but it really won't be the representation of that. That's what you call, it's now you're not practicing anymore. Like you have made this gesture. Those are the things you do and that's in the work that we've had that practice. Whether we do it all with each other to that degree is based on so many factors. I feel that there are people here that have done a lot for me. There are other people who have done, they might be doing something internally, but I don't experience it at all. It doesn't mean they're supposed to. As the introduction to this evening was, you give people, you're here, you exist, you're alive. There are certain souls that call on you. They're asking for you specifically. Other people, they have no idea what you're about. And that's not because they want to or don't want to. It's just maybe it's past experience, maybe it's just some kind of magic of the moment. But like of people who have passed through here, like Joe Caputo, who worked overtime on his aims. He was one of the few people I saw take off an overlay of not really doing anything much, of coming, into the situation and really doing miraculous things in terms of his ability to care. He did his homework. But like, how does this grow? It's a question. It doesn't have to have an answer, but I think that place, that like James, whether he calls it this or that, James is probably, for me, has done more for me than almost any person I've ever met in my life, other than Gil. And everyone here, I can name what they've done for me, because I remember what I'm aware of. But there might be other things they're doing that I have no awareness of, but it's still taking place. And it's telling more tales, like it with the sincerity, like that Gil has spoken of, that of being open about what one values. Like Gil saying, I've taken on this aim of prayer. That comes with such a deep, my experience it this way, am I right or wrong? I don't know, but it has always, and everything Gil does has this deep sense of he is doing that. He is present, he's going to do that with all the life force that he has. And so those are just thoughts around. The idea.
I sometimes use the word God. I don't think of an entity that is God. I don't see a picture of what God is. Basically, I'm not captured by any story from the Bible. I have a set of beliefs that I work with that are meaningful to me. The word the invisible makes sense to me. The universe makes sense to me. The broad concept of what God is or does doesn't make much sense to me. I have never thought of what I do as prayer until I wanted to explain it to somebody. I thank my father and my mother and these people so much that I do it a lot during my day. A lot. Many, many times. In this particular life, I've hit some dark spots. I've behaved in ways that I really wish I hadn't, but I did, and it can't be undone. Those beings that I had such a negative interaction with, many times I'll say, the being that was that person or that animal, I am sorry, 1,000 times for 1,000 days. I wish I hadn't. I can't undo what I've done. The general word like refrigerator is prayer. I do not think in terms of the word prayer unless I wish to try to describe, Dr. James described, thoughts in the mind, directed purposely towards a being or a person who might, like a plant, blossom a million something. And that, I believe, is necessary for me to do in this life. So I've been doing it, and the only thing I can say is that as I continue to do it, something within myself is flourishing.
I want to just remind Gil of something that, an image from being in Cold Springs and going to the rock behind the house in the state of prayer and having that rock be transported somewhere else. In terms of, I remember just praying over and over again what you were doing, and it was if the stone was somewhere else where Christ was. I don't know if you remember that moment.
I remember something happening there.
It was the whole place was completely transposed. You were there by yourself, but you described it.
Yeah. I've had moments when I think, if I could visualize the face of Christ, I would evolve something. But I can't. Then I distinctly almost heard a voice that said, everything you see is the face of Christ. A rock, a stone, a bird, a plant, it's all the face of Christ. So wow, from that concept, I've spent my life looking at the face of.
That was it.
Many times a day I ask the being of this particular dog I had many years ago. And I was a particularly dreadful pet owner then. And I've asked that being to somehow forgive me. I want that being to know that I'm so sorry and that I don't behave like that anymore. I don't do that anymore. Few people I have to say that to. And I've been thinking about this more or less in and out. And then I mentioned it to Albert last night. Not knowing what he would say. And he told me about the rabbis and this and that this is something done. I said, to me, it's like an idea, but then there's the part that says, no, come on. But stop putting yourself on. Then I distinctly felt that by Albert's stance, what he said, I said, wow, then, if this makes sense to Albert, it must make sense. And then tonight he comes and he hands me a fee for it, which I never thought. So I've got to go ahead, and I will go ahead. Sure.
You know, in a different level, we come here to this world not to make money and not to do well in business. It's not important. What's important is to wake up and to understand why we came here and to try to free ourselves as much as possible for the next time. The forces in this life are negative, which are all over the place. And the only way to fight it is with positive. So all day long, what do? Do not express negative emotion, don't be negative, stop doing this, be positive or positive. But then we need another force. If someone comes and asks me, do you want a little bit of the good force? Are you kidding me? Of course, I need to balance. Because look, I'm jealous, I'm envy, I get mad, I wish people bad. I've wished some horrible wishes when I was younger and I didn't understand any of it. It's horrible. People do it automatically. It's the nature of humankind. We hate, we have emotions and we say things. These are prayers. These are prayers. When I pray for people or wish people well in the subways and exercise, I always feel good about it and it makes me feel good. So if it works, it doesn't work, it works for me. But the second thing is I always feel uncomfortable to pray for myself. I always pray for more understanding and to give me more. I can take more, so give me more. Challenge me so I can learn and I can be a little bit freer. But I always have a problem, wishing myself well. It's like a selfish thing type thing. And maybe this is one of the reasons that it's a common thing to go to priests and to people of this profession that dedicated their lives to do this originally. Yeah, there is some con artists and this, but let's go to the man with his integrity and, you know. So I think we should think about it this way. It's an important value to the journey. It's not an extra, you know. It's very essential. It's important. If it's a Lego, it's a very important part of the Lego to do what we came here to do. And
as Albert speaks, I remember the old exercise we had: sit in the subway, wish people well, see people walk that through. I've forgotten that even. Yes. The idea of wishing somebody well means that for a moment that focus has been taken off I need, I want, me, and directed energy and thought towards another being, thinking of them. That's very, very important. To think of ourselves, to have good wishes towards ourselves. We read 1,000,000 times, learn to love yourself, learn to like yourself. I never, ever, ever, never, ever had heard of the idea of somebody being paid to have good wishes or prayers for anyone else. Never heard that until last night. My God, I never heard that in my life.
That's what the church is doing.
You know, the church doesn't admit it. I don't know what I always say. You go someplace and you pay somebody. Because I had this idea, say 2 months ago, when I first started somehow playing with this. Difference in there as I'm writing the story. A penny a prayer. Perhaps someone somewhere has promised somebody, yes, I'll remember you. Yes, I'll remember you. I'll pray for you. And then time passes and they forget. It slips their mind. Feel guilty, I said I would. And I haven't, and I haven't got the time, and it doesn't occur to me. For a penny could I buy a prayer? Could I buy a prayer for myself? Maybe you can walk over to somebody on the street and say, here, sir, here's a penny. Could you pray for that child to have a good life? This idea of a penny, a prayer, started coming more and more into my mind. And last night I bought the 3 domains. I told Albert I would get off the phone and do it, and I did it. .com, .gov, and .net. Or .com, .net. 3 of them. How did the being of my aunt feel? The last time I saw her was 1983. How did that person finish her years? She adored me. I was like her son. She never had a child. And I never, ever wrote to her again. I never called her again. And I heard that 20 or 25 years later she died. Is there a way to somehow undo some of the darkness that we add to ourselves. So this has been around my mind. My father, you and I do the fathers very closely. I never, ever, never, ever once thanked this man or ever, ever demonstrated a drop of friendship or a drop of caring. And he worked his entire life so that his one offspring would have a better life. And the apartment in Battery Park was his gift for me. He left me that. So Pam agrees that a plant that lives can respond to my thoughts. If a plant can do it, surely a human being can do it. She says it doesn't matter space, 5 feet, 10 feet, then it can be. So I've got a lot to make up for. Sue.
Yesterday, Gil gives me this jazz magazine, and he says, "Do you know this lady sax player who's being interviewed in this magazine?" So I read the interview. I never heard of this person. Every 10th word is inspiration. Oh, for inspiration I do this. Oh, I can't work unless I have it. I need inspiration, inspiration, inspiration. We have a little conversation about it, about how ridiculous that is. Because if you're waiting around for inspiration, first of all, mostly it's in your head. And it has nothing to do with any kind of an action, because it's completely passive. You're waiting to be given something, and you're not offering anything in return. And thinking more about how important it is to do actions and not have things going on in your head that you take to be reality. And then tonight, hearing everyone speak, and that conversation coming up in my mind again, and thinking, well, but surely I don't think that things that take place in the mind necessarily have no value or have no effect. And just as I started to realize what the difference is between inspiration, looking for or waiting for inspiration, and thinking something intentionally, consciously in the mind and putting it out, which is an action. Just as I started to realize the difference between those two things, which both may originate as an idea in the head, and yet one is completely passive and one is active. And just as I realized that, Pam spoke and it totally explained it perfectly, the difference between those two things. And what it comes down to is what Albert mentioned, practice. And in terms of my field, which is music, it's practicing your craft. Because your own judgment of yourself is so subjective and often so wrong. And sometimes I talk about this with colleagues. You think you played really poorly, and you listen back to the recording, and you're like, oh, no, that was good. That was cool. You know? Or sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes you think you were really smoking, and then you listen back, and you're like, that was not happening. So what goes on in the mind, unless it's done very consciously with a very clear intention is complete frou-frou. The idea of practicing the craft is that's what you end up holding on to, because all these people who have accomplished so much, Albert, who has had all these businesses and runs this very successful restaurant and this very successful business, and saying he's going into a meeting shaking because he doesn't feel confident, and yet he goes into the meeting and he practices the craft of, well, let me say what I need to say to this person, and I'm going to be sincere, and I'm going to do it with intent, and that's what you fall back on. And you fall back on it because you know it works, because you've practiced it. Or David Fowler, who's done all these multi-mega million deals, and yet when Gil is asking him, well, how do you do this, how do you do that? Well, I don't know, and I'm not sure, and he's doubts himself, or any of us really, things that, and myself included, things I know that I know how to do. The other night, I had a gig, and I didn't think that I played that well. I was kind of disappointed, and it was with a colleague of mine also playing the same instruments I was playing, and I'm sitting right next to him, and I'm listening to him, and I'm thinking, wow, he's really smoking tonight, and I sound terrible. And then after the concert, people coming up to me, oh, you're so great. Oh, with all the compliments, and no one's going up to him. And it just shows you, and I still feel that way. I still feel I didn't play well that night. But it's just coming back to the craft, because when you practice, you can ride on the craft. You can ride on the other people gunning for you and the other people looking at you like you know what you're doing. You can ride that and take some of it, because you've been putting out that energy. Okay, so now you need some energy. So you can take what you need. Give a penny, take a penny. And I think of a musician like John Coltrane, who's probably the most influential saxophone player of the last 50 years. He influenced every single person that plays the saxophone practically. And he was a man who practiced like 10 hours a day. And on the breaks, when all the other guys were smoking and drinking, he was in the back practicing. He practiced on the gig during the breaks. All he ever did was practice. And he became this legendary figure. Very, very humble person.
And a deeply religious man.
Very religious man. And at the beginning of his career, was he the best saxophone player? No. Was he the most talented saxophone player? No. But he became, through practice of his craft, he became a giant. So, it's practice. It's the practice of the craft. The craft is what brings us through when all the frou-frou in the mind is either telling us bad things about ourselves, or not building us up, or all the other crazy things that the mind does. We can rely on the craft. The craft is what tells us what to say when we go into the meeting. The craft is what tells us what to play when we go to the gig. The craft is what tells us what ingredients to put in the cake when we're putting it in the oven. It's the craft.
The only thing that I have on my mind since we spoke yesterday, everything was perfect except this one thing that doesn't fit in my mind, and I figured, I put it in the room. when I wish a person in the subway back in the years when we used to do it all the time, I never asked them if he wants me to wish him well. I think if I would take the aim when I get in your age, when I take the same age, when I'll be 80, I don't know if I'll ask the people if they're willing to accept my prayers. But maybe I don't understand it, maybe I will, but this is the only thing that why do you need me to say yes?
The short version. I see this man walking down the street. I hope he has a good life. I hope he's a happy guy. I hope his life works out good for him. I don't know if I'm having an influence. I'm just jumping in and doing that. Here I speak to him and I say, is it permissible to do this? Because I think it's at a level of my input and his willing to accept my input. I'm doing something like interweaving karmas. I believe in some way I'm approaching and touching, doing something with an extremely essential and very fine part that I have to ask his permission. Are you willing to accept my good thoughts? Not just for once when you're walking down the street, but on a continuing basis. On a continuing basis. Am I sort of intermixing my soul, spirit with somebody else's? Do I have, as Pamela defines, do I have some sort of right to impact upon this plant's existence? Does this plant have some sort of a right to say, look, every time you come home mad or this or that, you are killing me? Because if a plant stands there or sits there or lives there and has to put up with your existence, does the plant have a right to say, stop, you're killing me? Not only that, that's just the intro. The other part is when this Rebbe is saying, pay me for this, I should tell you what I'm going to do.
Yes, yes.
Because I can't really say, oh my God, James gave me this money to pray for him. I haven't thought of James for a month. What do I do, give him this money back? Because I really believe I had never heard the story of paying for prayer. I thought that was my particular English madrigal that I made up myself. That somebody goes to somebody and says, I made a promise and I haven't kept it, and I can't keep it. I haven't got the focus to do this as an aim every day. Will you do it? I'll give you a penny. Then somebody takes on a promise that says, yes, sir, I'll take your penny and I'll send these good thoughts to that person. Instead of you, because you can't or don't know how to or haven't got the patience to do it. So I'll do it. If I don't do it, it's called theft. So now this man, that's the first, you want to be the first customer? He's the first customer. I can't face this man. I forgot. I didn't do it. He tells the story that there's rabbis you come and they ask you for thousands of dollars and they take the money and they go to Vegas with it. And the police try to film them and capture them and put them in jail. We have a complaint here, Mr. Barretto, yes. Mr. Merriweather says that he paid you to have good thoughts to him. And you're not doing it. Is it true? Confess. Are you not doing it? Yes, I'm not doing it. I told him I would do it, and I guess don't do it. Anyway, life is pretty far out. But everyone here is included in my good wishes on a daily basis.
I think that prayers are just a form of love, and I think it's nice to spread love around, and you don't have to know the person, or you could know the person, or whatever. I also do the thing on the subway where I get on the subway and wish everybody well, and you all know our cat Marie, she's the calico one. Well, when she was a kitten, she never wanted to be picked up and petted and rah, rah, all the time. She still does that, but she never was affectionate, always acted like, oh, don't touch me, I don't want any love, I don't want any affection, just leave me alone. But I just picked her up anyway. The same as I picked up Petra, and Petra was, oh yes, love me, love me, love me. And I picked them up equally. They each got picked up every day, and petted, and I love you, I love you. And now, Marie is the one who comes around, pet me, love me, love me. And after, 15 years or something. So I just never accepted that she didn't want the love.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people like that. They don't know how to accept love. And maybe those are the ones we have to pray for silently. Maybe those are the ones you can't tell them that you're praying for them because they don't know how to accept that. But that doesn't mean they won't benefit from it. And if they live long enough, maybe it'll be like Marie.
Did you say yes?
Yes.
Did you say put on the brakes?
Yes.
At 11 o'clock, you start putting on the brakes. Do you forget all those recordings, which I'm counting on you, sir?
Yes.
At those moments, in those days, when I was younger, as Mr. Albert is sure to point out, meetings traditionally lasted 4 hours. from 9 to 1, very, very often from 9 to 2. People got up next morning and went to work just as well. So now,
It's up to you.
ah,
I have a bus to catch, but it's
You have a bus to catch?
No, it's, yeah, I have to leave in 2 minutes. But it's
go ahead, leave in 2 minutes. God bless you.
No, I'll wait.
Thank everybody because you're the people that I'm close to. I feel that our lives are intertwined. God bless you. Buonanotte, signori.
Come on, with cake and tea, come on. Steak 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 and tea, come on.